you need to help me out because my boss has challenged me and the NBA fans here at Chat Sports to get 50 subscribers on today's show. I want to prove to them that when we get challenged, we can answer the call, answer the bell. So hit that sub button. You get daily content, and you get the best NBA rumors. With that being said, let's start today's show. Welcome to NBA Now by Chat Sports. I am Nick Roloff. We have a loaded show here with three main topics. The first one is about Lauri Markkanen, the Swedish forward. Could he be heading to Golden State? Brandon Ingram, is he going to stay or is he leaving NOLA? And then to end today's show, the New York Knicks want Walker Kessler, but the Jazz, they might be asking a heavy price for the big man out of Auburn. First, we'll start with Lauri Markkanen because Tony Jones, a NBA reporter, reported that Golden State has shown willingness to include a lot of draft capital to acquire Lauri Markkanen, one of the best big men in the NBA, putting the ball in the basket, and he could be that second option maybe for Steph Curry. Here is what Tony Jones said specifically. Said the Warriors showed an increased willingness to use their future draft capital in their failed pursuit of Paul George and stalled chase of Markkanen. So to me, you might look at that quote and say, well, that's not really anything new. But to me, I want to spin this into a conversation about what Golden State needs to do this NBA offseason, because it has to be something. And you could talk about Lauri and you could talk about Brandon Ingram, as those guys are the probably top two trade targets out there. But when you think about where the Warriors are at, they have a very old Steph Curry. And I'm not saying he's very old because he can't play. No, he's very, very good still. But I'm talking about they get 3 years of him maybe left that he can really bring a good value to a contender as a top option. And are you going to sit here and waste those years with no help around him? And I get it. You only lost Klay Thompson. It's not like it's the biggest loss in the world, especially because I think he's kind of on the decline himself. But the Western Conference is only getting better, and you need to make a splash move to make sure you can still be competitive after they missed the postseason by just being the 10th seed in the play-in a year ago. And maybe Markkanen is that guy. He has been so good for the Jazz ever since joining Utah in that trade where he was sent from Cleveland to Utah in the Donovan Mitchell deal, made an all-star team, averaged 24 points a game over the past 2 seasons, 8.5 boards a game, averaged the 39% from three and about 49% from the field. Like, this is someone who has been extremely dynamic offensively in Utah. And just think of the pick and pops that Curry and Markkanen can run. It would be unbelievably difficult to defend when you have to set a screen for Markkanen, that is. You have to blitz Curry, get the ball out of his hands because he can't play and drop or he'll burn you from deep. But when you hedge that and double that, there's this Lauri Markkanen, a 40% three-point shooter, either rolling to the rim or popping out. It would be an unbelievable offense. And here is some intriguing notes on Markkanen as well, as the Warriors are still going in pursuit. There are several within the league that have grown more convinced that the Jazz, after exploring Markkanen's trade market, plan to renegotiate and extend Markkanen using their saved-up cap space. So now, after you hear that quote, which came in the same article, by the way, you kind of look at this from Golden State's perspective, and there's like, well, no crap, they have to send in all of their draft capital, and they've shown the willingness to do that. Because if Utah is so on even trading Markkanen in the first place, you need to overwhelm them with a really good trade offer. And if I was a betting man, I would actually bet on Lauri Markkanen staying in Utah. Because I've mentioned this a couple times, but at what point do you just put your feet in the sand and draw a line and say, all right, we're done just looking towards the future, trading our good players for draft capital, like Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, and we're going to start building this team in the right direction. Now, can Lauri Markkanen be a top 2 on a championship contending team? I'm not sure. I think he would be a really good third option. I think he could be a low 2 if you have a really good 3, kind of like a Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday situation in Milwaukee 3 years ago. But either way, I think Markkanen would be a very good building block for this Utah Jazz team. But hey, Danny Ainge loves his picks, and maybe he wants to deal Markkanen away to get more draft capital to potentially load up for Cooper Flagg in 2025. But you predict it for me with Lauri Markkanen. Will he be kept in Utah, or will he be traded? Type T for traded, type K for kept. Let me know your thoughts down below. All right, let's segue into Brandon Ingram now, because according to NBA insider Mark Stein, New Orleans remains very open to trade discussions involving Brandon Ingram. That should surprise no one, as the two sides have just not been able to come together and figure something out for a long-term extension. The issue that I'm facing for Ingram and Nola is I just don't really know what the market is for Brandon Ingram. And I don't think the market is going to be that hot. We're talking about a player that is a consistent 20-point-per-game scorer, but there are questions about his motor, his drive to win, and he isn't the best three-point shooter, only shooting above 37% once in the last 4 seasons. He is a pretty efficient guy, giving you 45% from the field on a yearly basis, but for someone who has dealt with injuries, not the most locked-in defender, and might not care about winning the most, like, who is going to trade for Brandon Ingram and then go around and extend him for $50 million per season? Like, that's the serious question here. Ingram is eligible to sign a 4-year, $209 million max extension, and it's reported that he wants that. Ingram, you're a fine player, but $50 million per season? I just don't know about that, and I don't think I would pay him that at all. Because we talked about Lauri Markkanen. Could he be a top 2 player on a championship team? I think it's more likely he could over Brandon Ingram, because I think Markkanen's more efficient and he's a better defender and he gives you great size at the 4 spot. Ingram can play the 3, can play the 4, but he's not as good as a defender. He's a little bit more fragile than Lauri Markkanen. So if you're comparing the two, I would be much more willing to give Markkanen $50 million per season than I would Brandon Ingram. And to me, Ingram's market is not a supermax $50 million per season. He needs to live in the market where OG Anunoby got. And sure, in a vacuum, is Brandon Ingram better than OG Anunoby? Probably. But who impacts winning more? I think the answer could be OG Anunoby. And if you were to ask me and put a gun to my head and say, who would you rather have on your basketball team to be your third option? Or second option, probably go BI. But third option, fourth option, I'd probably take OG Anunoby. So I think Ingram needs to live in that $42, $45 million per year on annual average salary rather than the 50+ that he wants on that Supermax extension. More to talk about here on the show, but we have a lot of cool hats on sale at chatsports.com/NBA hats. They got every single team out there, whether you're a fan of the Atlanta Hawks, the New York Knicks, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Spurs. It does not matter. You can get a hat of your favorite team on sale right now at chatsports.com/NBA hats. Different styles. Got the trucker hats, got the little rope hats, fitted hats. They have them all. Get yours today. Chatsports.com/NBA hats. Those links will be in the description and comments of today's video. Get yours today. Join me. Let's get to Walker Kessler now, because it has been reported that the New York Knicks have been seeking to add another center to their roster after Isaiah Hartenstein left in free agency and joined the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Walker Kessler has been the main player attached to New York, but the Jazz have been playing some hard ball, which Danny Ainge is known to do. And the latest reports on that hardball negotiation tactics that Danny Ainge is employing comes from SNY's Ian Begley. New York Sports, SNY. The Jazz have rejected offers for the young big man that included 2 first-round picks. In that same report, he did not specify if they were heavily protected or not, but either way, if it's from New York or from a different team, that's 2 first-round picks that they are declining for Walker Kessler. The former UNC Tar Heel and Auburn Tiger has made a pretty big impact in Utah in his first 2 seasons in the league, playing in 74 and 64 games respectively. By the way, fun fact, Kessler finished 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting in 22-23 because he came onto the scene, almost averaged a double-double with 9 points, 8 rebounds, and also is one of the best shot blockers and rim protectors in the NBA already, giving you 2.5 in each of his 2 first seasons. Doesn't really give you much offensively, practically just a guy who feeds off putbacks and lob opportunities and rolls to the rim, can't really create for himself in the low post or in a face-up game, and he's not much of a shooter either, as you see his free throw percentage really bad, 60% in 23, 51.6 in his rookie year. Either way, he's one of the best rim protectors in the entire NBA. I'm a fan of Walker Kessler. The question is, though, is he worth 2 first-round picks? That's really the one that we're going to have to talk here. And before I give you my thoughts on the matter, I want to get yours. Price is Right. Bob Barker, baby. Shout out Adam Sandler and shout out Happy Gilmore. Is Walker Kessler worth 2 first-round picks? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I'm a big Walker Kessler fan, but I say no. 2 first-round picks for a guy that can't really create on his own is a little bit of a disaster if you're asking me. And I like Kessler, I do, but I'm a little skeptical of his ability to switch in some defensive schemes and defend on the perimeter. It's the same old issue we see with Rudy Gobert and why I think he's the fakest 4-time defensive player of the year that this game will ever see. Because, yes, does he protect the rim and deter people and reject shots? Absolutely. But when it comes to the big moments, he gets hunted. Hunted. We saw what Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving did to him in the Western Conference Finals. I'm kind of feeling like Kessler could be that same type of issue. So, sure, a first-round pick and a solid role player for Kessler, that's what I think his package is. 2 first-round picks for a guy that can't give you anything on his own offensively and could be a liability on the perimeter defensively, that's where I have my regards. But to close out the conversation on today's show, I want to let y'all know this. And if the Knicks can't come to an agreement for Walker Kessler, keep your eye out for Elfrid Şengün in Houston. They have yet to commit to him to a long-term extension. I don't know if they'll do that. And if they don't do that, could the Knicks go all in with a Şengün package where they send a potential Julius Randle, a couple picks, and Deuce McBride to get Elfrid Şengün? It would not shock me if they made that play. New York Post Marks Berman has kind of floated that idea out there as well. I don't think it would be the best idea for New York, to be honest, because I think they need more of a defensive guy. Şengün really doesn't give you that. He's more of an offensive playmaking center in the same mold of a Domantas Sabonis, but it is an intriguing rumor floating out in the NBA circles. That's going to do it for today's show. Like I said off the top, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we go live multiple times a week. We have daily videos here breaking down NBA news and rumors, NFL, college football. It does not matter. And let's help me out. Your boy needs help. Prove the boss is wrong. We need 50 subs on today's show.